Well, welcome back to another episode of Venna Teaches. I've got to tell you, the weather's so great right now. It's like 78 degrees, and don't hate me for my friends up in areas where it's cold. Got to wear my favorite shirt of all time. Boom! It's the shirt for the win. Got my second vaccination shot earlier this week. Kind of knocked me out for a little bit, but I'm on the mend. Got my energy back. Looking forward to seeing I get to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I hope you do too, because we've got some hard-working scientists, healthcare workers, people that are getting in there and getting it done. So there's a lot of things to be hopeful for. And one of the things that I'm hopeful for is that you will learn something from this new episode. And it is, as promised, about history hijackers. That's right, history hijackers. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Okay, what do I mean by a history hijacker? Okay, guys, look. There are groups of people in this country, and I'm sure in other countries, but there are groups of people in this country who are trying to decide what history they want you to learn and what history they don't want you to learn. Okay? Can I give you a real profound statement that makes sense? But you know what? History's already happened. You can't change it. It's already been done. All you can do is learn from it. And when you have a group of people who feel that they can only tell this portion about Billy Bob, but leave out this portion about Billy Bob, it's wrong. I'll even go as far as to say it's unethical. What is happening here, guys, I want you to listen very carefully. You've got a group of people who think that they are smarter than you are. They feel like it is their divine right to pick and choose what parts of history to teach you, what picture they want to show, okay, about a particular person or a particular event. Do we tell only the good part of somebody? Or do we only share the bad part about somebody? You've got people, you've got these, very distinguished professors from these very high-ranked colleges and universities who think that they're so much smarter than you are because they have a degree, okay, from these pretentious universities. That's fine. But guess what? They're not any smarter than you. They just happen to have a degree from a different college maybe than you do. Big whoop. Okay? But some of these people think we must save the electorate from themselves. Americans aren't smart enough to be able to take a pile of information and sort through and figure out for themselves. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. So people in these highfalutin jobs and everything else, they're banking on you being ignorant. So let's talk about hijacking history. Okay, I always go back to old George Washington. Well, it would be really an incomplete picture to talk about George Washington, who fought in the French and Indian War, the father of our country, who was a general in the Continental Army, first president of the United States, a gentleman Virginian farmer. If that's all I told you about him, it'd be sunshine, rainbows, unicorns, wouldn't it? But there's another side. He's a Virginian farmer, and he had slaves. He was a slave owner, okay? If I left that portion out about George Washington, it would be an incomplete history. If you have not gone to Mount Vernon, you need to go to Mount Vernon, because Mount Vernon, they knock it out of the park with telling the entire story of George Washington. They talk about his time in the military. They talk about his time in service to the country as a political leader. They talk about the fact that he's a farmer, but they also talk about the fact that he's a slave owner. They talk about what life was like for a slave on the Washington plantation. And they don't paint a rosy picture. They tell it like it is because, we all have two sides to our story. Okay, if you're going out on a blind date with somebody, don't you want to know everything about them? Do you just want half the story? Or do you want the full scoop about the blind date you're going on? Oh, they're really nice looking and they've got a great job. Okay, well, wow, that sounds great. Now, listen, I've already got a forever date. Woohoo! Okay, I don't have to worry about that. But, lucky gal. But if I did, I'd say, well, is that all you can tell me? Is that he's good looking, has a good job? Okay, well, this is his 8th job this year, and, blah, blah. I mean, maybe some bad. I need to know the full story so I can get a full picture. Look, guys, when you do not tell the full story of history, you're missing the point of history. You teach history so that you can learn from what people have done or events that have taken place. So when you only throw out half the story, what lesson is there to learn? Plater Robinson, who is a mentor of mine down at Tulane with the Southern Research Institute, and I have said this 5 zillion times, I know, he said one of the biggest things that impacted me about teaching history, and I've thought about it all these years as I've taught, but I've never been able to put it into words, and he did. He said, Venna, heroes aren't all angels. And how do we learn that? How do we learn that? We learn that through history, from learning both sides of a person's story, both sides of an event. Let's take an event here. Let's look at the Boston Massacre. Okay? If you say the word massacre, all right, I'm thinking pretty high body count, to be quite frank with you. Okay? I'm thinking pretty high bank. I'm thinking hundreds, maybe more in a massacre. Well, when the story got out that colonists had been killed by redcoats, okay, the massacre in Boston, okay, look, for the families of the people that were killed, terrible, not good. But the story went out, the massacre in Boston, and the picture that was shown. Oh, the aggressor of the redcoats. Look, let me tell you something. The story was that it was a massacre and that it was an unprovoked shooting. Did y'all know that it wasn't unprovoked? Did y'all know that the redcoats had asked the colonists over and over to stop heckling them and stop and to disperse and leave, or they were going to have consequences to pay? Did you know that the colonists pelting snowballs, which sounds kind of funny, except for the snowballs had glass in them and brick in them and things like that, told to stop? Okay? Now, what happened was terrible. But when you sell history, okay, they're selling a story about what happened to promote an ending that they want people to believe. So when you tell everything bad that Billy Bob has done, you're like, yeah, we'll tell him everything bad that Billy Bob has done, so that you can create a negative impression about this person. You're trying to keep people ignorant of the facts. It's the same with only saying the positive things about a person. Okay? Little Miss Julianne Sunshine. Okay? Julianne Sunshine probably has some things about her that aren't always sunshine, because we're not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes we're thunderclouds and storms. And you know what? That's okay. See, we've got to learn that there's two sides to every story. When you omit history, okay, you are keeping people from learning the lessons of history. And my sweet friends, when you allow somebody, these pundits and these distinguished emeritus professors, whatever, to tell you what you're supposed to think and tell you what you're supposed to learn, then you're not thinking. Dig, find information. You've got to know the whole story. It is unethical and immoral for people to withhold. It is to omit and withhold information about a particular individual or an event because it may hurt what your outcome is wrong. It's wrong. Okay? So, see, if I want someone to dislike somebody, I'm only going to say the negative. Okay? But if I want people to be, and if these people truly want the best for America, then they want the people should know everything. Okay? I want to know that someone's flawed, that it's not just me that's flawed. There's someone who's done something pretty extraordinary with their lives, and they were pretty ordinary, just like me. I like that. That's the lesson we've got to get out there. Okay? If you've got an icon for whatever your cause is, and people only want to tell you the good part of that icon, so, well, we just don't want to upset the folks. Americans are pretty forgiving. It's nice. It's like having a pastor who's never done anything wrong in their life, supposedly. That's real hard to have that as your pastor. You're kind of like, well, what about me? I'm flawed, but you don't seem to have any. Okay? Everybody's got flaws. We need to know the positive about people. We need to know the negative. We need to know both sides of the story. Is it fair for someone to be on trial and only have a prosecution? Don't we say that there's a defense for everybody on trial, a prosecution and a defense? I want to know everything, not just what some muckety muck wants me to know. I want to know. It is your job to dig and find out. That's your job. Don't let people hijack history. You've got to dig and find the facts. Don't just believe something coming from some talking head's mouth. Dig in the history books. Ask your history teachers. Send me a question, ask me. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find it for you. But this is my challenge to you. Don't believe everything these muckety mucks say. Find out for yourself. Don't let someone hijack your history and not allow you to learn the lesson of history. We are doomed to repeat it if we do not learn it and learn from it. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later this week with another episode of Venna Teaches. Take care. Oops,